Welcome to It Takes a Family, a podcast that helps take parenting from desperation to hope. I'm one of your hosts, Andy.
And I'm your co-host, Kelly.
And once a week, we'll highlight experts and other parents like you who have been in the trenches of parenting, bringing hard lessons learned and insights on how to navigate even the most difficult of family episodes. Today's an exciting episode. We have with us Molly Hughes, and Molly's going to help in our series around the Eagle Ranch family healing paradigm. And we have kind of 5 parts to this paradigm. And I think kind of at the center of that is your story. And how does your story of growing up impact the way that you're parenting and living now? And so really excited for Molly to share with us. And so Molly, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I'm going to read her bio because it's important that I read her bio because she's really great.
She is really great, so don't mess it up.
I won't.
Okay.
But Molly's our friend, and
Yes.
at the ranch, Eagle Ranch, Molly's a licensed professional counselor who works at our outpatient counseling center, the Wings Center. Before that, she worked with hundreds of families for 5 years as they went through the admissions process for the Eagle Ranch Family Renewal Program. Molly often says, "I can't believe I get to do what I do for a living. I truly believe that I have the best job in the world, sitting on the front row seat and cheering someone on as they work to make changes in their lives is an honor I don't take lightly. And Andy is one of my best friends, and I'm so thankful for him." So that's a really great quote, Molly. Thank you so much for saying that.
So welcome.
Molly's also an honorary or a founding member of the Cozy Corner.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Back when she was in that admissions, we kind of had a little corner offices, and we were the Cozy Corner.
And it was cozy.
And it was awesome.
Yes,
it
it
was a great
was.
time. But she went over to the Wing Center, and we're kind of thankful for that. But really, we're thankful for the way that you're impacting the families
Yes.
over there. So
you.
the way that we like to start our podcast and kind of the question we like to ask first is for you to tell us about the family that you grew up in and the family you lead now.
Okay.
Awesome.
So the family I grew up in had its share of struggles. I have a mom and dad who got divorced when I was really young, probably around 4 years old. So with my mom and dad, I have a big sister. So I'm the baby of that sibling group, which comes with all kinds of stuff we'll talk about later.
Sure.
And then when my parents remarried, I became a half sister to siblings that are 9, 10, and 11 years younger than me. So my half siblings, I got to help raise them in a little way. So just kind of that big sister role, but sometimes babysitting plus, all the add-ons to that.
Yes.
So, but I spent the bulk of the school year with my mom and stepdad, and then we would spend the summers with my dad. So I lived in Florida and then would spend the summers in North Carolina with my dad and stepmom. And so that's the family I came from. They did their best to make things work, and they did a wonderful job. And then the family that I lead now comes with its fair share of struggles. So I am married to Dan. We've been married for 29 years.
Wow.
Celebrated that anniversary in May.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And then together we have a 24-year-old son who's married and has our first grandbaby. And then we have a 20-year-old daughter who is soon to be engaged, and she is a student at Georgia College going into her senior year. We have an emerging adult son who's going into his senior year of high school. He's 17. And then we just thought starting over would be a wonderful idea. So actually, we felt like the Lord was calling us toward adoption. And in 2016, we added a sibling group of 3 babies to our family, twins and their little sister. And then in 2019, they were adopted. So we have then we have 2 4th graders and 1 3rd grader, 9-year-old twins and their little sister. So our age ranges from 8 to 24. So
Man.
that's a lot of different parenting stages and different ways that we have to care for each of them, from the adult all the way down to that baby. It's a lot.
And
It's
like
a
you
lot.
showered and everything this morning. It
I
looks
did.
like, I mean,
I
come
did.
on.
I did.
Ooh.
Let's celebrate that for a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it almost feels like there's a whole episode in just like unpacking that.
All
We're
that.
not going to
No,
do that
no,
today.
we don't need to do that.
But it would be fun. But we're not going to do that. I will say, as you talk about your family, Dan is like one of my favorite, and we're kind of cut from the same cloth, and we sarcastically send text messages about things, and it's a good time. We don't need anybody to
pretty
find
funny.
those messages ever, but it's a good time.
No.
All right, so we're talking.
Commiseration.
Right, yeah.
We
yeah.
need to delete those immediately.
Because I need to make sure those are no longer on the phone. So, we're talking about your story, and we're talking about kind of understanding. You obviously, even in sharing that, have a kind of a clear understanding of your own history, and then now kind of things that are going on in your world. But I don't think that's true for everybody. So can you tell us a little bit, like, how important is it to know your own personal story and history?
Oh, it's so important. And I don't think I realized how important it was until I came to the ranch.
Right.
I think sitting with so many different families and kind of unpacking things with them helped me realize, oh, I don't know a lot about my own. Like I really
Really?
need
Okay.
to do the thing, do the work, get counseling, figure my own stuff out so that I can do a better job leading my family, but then also help others along the way. So, but our story and our history and the way we were raised, the way we grew up, all of that impacts who we are today. And so knowing our story helps us to kind of know who we are and how we show up and how we see the world, how we show up in relationships. It all comes from our history. And we gain things along the way, obviously, but that history is really important for us to understand ourselves and how we relate to other people.
So you said you weren't that deep dive into it until you came to the ranch?
Yes.
So you were a counselor before you came to the ranch, but just maybe didn't utilize some of the tools that we utilize here. Is that
That's
fair?
correct. Yes.
Wow, I
where
didn't realize that.
where I served before, I didn't do a lot of family stuff, a lot of family counseling or anything, but here that was the primary focus of what I was doing as the admissions counselor. So what I learned just from the staff, the other people on the treatment team, just all of those people together, looking at genograms, doing all of that, it was like, oh, there's so much here to unpack. And sometimes I wished I could go back to some of the clients that I had before and say, oh, I think I see it now.
Right.
I get it. I see why we were stuck, because we didn't have the full context of where they were coming from and how they saw the world. And I didn't either. So I think that's where all of that developed, just that focus on family here
Yeah.
brought that into my own.
Well, I mean, I
way
feel
of
like
seeing
I
it.
have I've spent 10 years on that treatment team. I'm not a licensed professional counselor, but I feel like I have an education in
Yes.
family systems therapy just from
Yeah.
sitting in that room and hearing and seeing. And one of the tools that we use for our residential program is we start with a genogram. And that was a term I didn't know when I came to Eagle Ranch. And so kind of explain a little bit for people, like, what is a genogram and why is that important?
Yeah, and is that the very first thing you do with the families that come here?
When we would do our first meeting in admissions, I don't know how it works now, but that was
Still
the
true.
first thing that we did
Yeah.
Okay.
with the family is we would start with the genogram. And then as I moved over to the Wing Center, usually within the first couple of meetings, I want to do a genogram because there's so much that you can pull from it.
It's almost like your context
Yes.
to even start
Yes.
looking at where do we need to go.
Yes, I explain it to my clients. It's almost like a compass. Like it's like a map through the woods because I feel completely blind if I don't have a genogram now, based on all that time. So a genogram is like a family tree, but it's better. It's more in depth than a family tree. So it's really just a diagram of the family. We map out how everybody's connected. We look at sibling groups. We look at relationships. We look at patterns in the family. Just so many things that kind of pop off the page once we see it. Some things come clear that don't necessarily come clear just through talking about your history. And maybe it's because I'm so visual, it just helps me so much to look at that.
What kind of things do you see?
Yeah.
What are you looking for?
When I'm looking at a person's genogram, I'm looking for patterns. I'm looking for groups. I'm looking for connections, things like that. I'm looking for who married who. Like, is it a firstborn married to a baby, or is it this or that? Like, just kind of looking at all of that together, because then birth order comes into play. All of those things. So it's just everything on one page in one place.
Like when you
that
talk
comes
about
to life.
patterns, like what kind of patterns are you looking for?
A lot of the patterns we see, especially with the people that I've worked with, are like patterns of power and control, anger and aggression, sometimes codependency, enabling, substance abuse, disordered eating, body image, like so
Just
many
all
things.
the way up the family tree?
All the way up the family
Okay.
tree.
Interesting.
And all the way back down. So.
All right, so in there somewhere you mentioned birth order. There's like a few like funny like Instagram like personality people who do. Have you seen these little like birth order things? And they're like
No.
oldest brother, middle. Oh, I'll find one and
need
send
to
them
see
to
this.
you, because this particular guy or girl is like trying to kind of play out the stereotypes, and I feel like maybe it's just the world I've been in. Like, I've heard more over the last few years about birth order and sort of its role. But like, is it a thing? If it's a thing, like, how important is it? Like, talk to us a little bit about birth order and how it impacts somebody's story.
Yes. So birth order, I didn't pay any attention to till I got to the ranch. And so, yes, birth order is a thing.
Okay.
But it's not the thing. It's
Gotcha.
not everything. It's just part of us. So I look at birth order as one piece of the puzzle. I want to look at that, but I also want to look at the person's history. I want to do a family, like a narrative of the person. I want them to tell me all the things that they know about themselves, because it's just a piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
But when I'm looking at birth order, one of my mentors would say, like, okay, why is this baby not acting like a baby? Or why is this firstborn not acting like a firstborn? There's something more to that, because there are some stereotypical things,
Yeah.
right? But nobody wants to be put in a box.
Right.
I don't like it. None of my clients like it. But also, we talk about that. There's some general things, general stereotypes that we can look at. And if they don't check out, I'm not going to try to shove you in that and say, oh, but you're a baby, you have to be this way.
Right.
I just want to know more then. Like, give me some more information. And then that builds it out to where you get a picture of the whole person, not just where they fall in their birth order.
So if you could do like oldest, middle, youngest, and maybe only, if you could give us like the 30-second on each, like how's an oldest supposed to act, or what, or that?
Yes. Okay, again, stereotypes.
Yeah, I know, I got it.
So nobody feel like I'm putting you in a box if you're listening.
Molly Hughes is putting you in a box.
She is, most definitely.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so firstborn generally are going to be pretty responsible.
Okay.
They are going to be a rule follower. They're going to kind of be a caretaker in general. Now, sometimes they rebel. And so then we got to look at that. You're firstborn, but you're being rebellious. What's that about?
Yeah.
So, but that firstborn, I kind of think of that.
I used to tell my sister, "You're not my mom."
Yes, exactly. Sometimes they're like a second parent. And then I'll say only next, because in my mind, an only is kind of like a firstborn, but well, I say a firstborn on steroids. That's how I
Right.
explain it.
Okay.
Where there's just even more of that tendency to like lean toward doing things right and being the best at what you do. Sometimes can be a little selfish in relationships just because they're not used to sharing their toys. That's what my mentor used to say. But so then we have like a middle child. Sometimes they're pretty reactive, and that's a lot of what we would see at the ranch sometimes. But then also they can be really passive. So it doesn't fit a specific mold a lot of times with middles. But there usually is a component of fair, unfair, right, wrong, that value of like, I pick on my daughter all the time and nothing is fair ever for her. And
she's right. It's not.
It's just not.
Life's not fair.
As a middle, I'll go
I
ahead
hate
and
it
admit
for her.
she's right.
I hate it for her.
It's not fair.
But I can see it through her eyes because of what I've learned. And then babies, generally, I'm a baby.
I'm a baby.
Oh man, we just want to play. We just want to be taken care of. We just want somebody else to do the heavy lifting. But then also was called a baby hero for the very first time in my interview process with the ranch, and I was like, I don't even know what this means.
Baby, you need a T-shirt or something. It says
it's like
baby
a-
hero. What does that mean?
It's like a baby that has firstborn tendencies. So there's a reason that I don't get to play. I don't get to be taken care of. I don't get all the benefits of a baby. And
that's because you have 6 kids.
well, yeah, that. And then it goes all the way back to where we started with my family. Like there was a rupture in our family when I was very little that then creates this need for me to take care of everybody else. And so while I'm a baby, I don't act like a baby most of the time. But the more I know about myself and the more healing I do in counseling, the more I get to be the baby that is kind of like my birthright. So I'm working on that. I'm working on letting people take care of me, but that's really hard to do. So
What when you're working with families and they're initially coming in, do you think people are self-aware in general, or I just remember when I did the genogram, if I'm being honest, this was many, many years ago, but I was just like, why are we doing this? Like, we have real problems to talk about, and why are we talking about, what does this have to do with anything? Yeah. Is that a common response, or was I just being the baby? And
I think it's pretty common for people who've never heard of it or aren't in a lot of therapy spaces. But I always try to tie it back to why this is important today. And so I try to save at the very end of that first session when we do the genogram session, I want that time to be like, okay, this is how this impacts today. Just trying to help them see that their history does matter. All of it does matter. So I think it depends on how you're coming in. But if I, as a therapist, can help point that out for them, then they'll settle a little and just kind of go, okay, so I got some questions. And then we start like really picking it apart together.
Okay.
So I guess what would you say to the person who's doing podcast therapy and not necessarily paying an hourly rate for therapy, but like how do you find some of that introspection? How do you what are some resources or some ways to kind of begin to try and unpack, hey, what is my story? What was my childhood really like? How would you sort of counsel somebody who doesn't feel like, hey, I don't need to go to a therapist, and maybe the counsel is go to a therapist, but I don't need to go to a therapist, but I also am curious about my own upbringing and how it's impacting who I am today.
I think a good place to start, and sometimes I have the people that I work with do this, is to talk to your parents if you have a relationship with them, or your siblings, and just try to kind of pull apart what was going on when I was little, like when I was maybe even before I had solid memories, like those 3 to 6 year, that time frame, because so much of who we are is developed during those age ranges, and most of us can't remember that. We might have a few memories here and there, but so if we can talk to people who knew us when we were that age, or who were a part of our story back then, but then also like talking with the people that are closest to you, whether it be a spouse or a sibling or a best friend, and just asking them, like, what's it like to be in relationship with me? Like, are there things? That's a dangerous question.
Yikes.
You better be ready for the answer. But just, again, it has to be somebody that you really trust and that wants what's best for you. Because a lot of times people see things in us that we can't see in ourselves. And so asking those questions can help get us started. But
What would be,
as a
so what would
therapist,
be an
I'm going to say
example?
go to counseling.
Well, yes.
Yes.
What would be an example of like something that might get pulled out of a conversation like that?
With
Like an observation, like I'm guessing maybe you do that in your family sessions where the family members talk about each other, like what they see. What kind of things might they say?
That's one of my favorite questions to ask when we're doing the genogram. And then because it's usually like 3 generations. So when we get down to the people who are in the room, then I have like, okay, so you tell me, how would you describe your mom? How would you describe your dad? And we start kind of putting those characteristics down. So it gives them a clear view of. My favorite story was of a kiddo who was like, well, she like really, really, really likes to have things the way she likes them. And so I was feeling just enough buy-in from the mom to look at him and say, it sounds like she's controlling. He's like, no. And the mom's looking at me like smiling, like you're there. And the kid's like, no, she just really likes things the way she likes them. And I was like, okay, so that really sounds like she might be a little controlling. And then the mom finally like let the kid off the hook and was like, okay, it's fine. You can say the truth in this space. You're not going to get in trouble. But I think just hearing from other people how they perceive us helps us to get to know ourselves better, and for the good or the bad. And she needed to hear that, and she needed to see that other people could feel what she was feeling inside. She knew that about herself. She was very self-aware, but then to hear that other people were recognizing that in her helped her to then go, okay, I got to work on that piece of myself.
So how do you challenge the person who says, because I think there's a lot out there that would say, you want me to find out what it was like when I was 3 to 6? Like, how does what my parents did impact me at all? Like I've moved on from that, or I've, healed from that. Like that doesn't have any bearing in my problem today is this punk kid who's acting bad, fix it. Like what's kind of the, how do you kind of navigate some of that? What would you say to that person who's like, stop asking about my parents and grandparents, help me fix my kid?
Yeah, that age range is so important because of the way. Now, I'm not a neuroscientist. I'm not going to pretend to have all of the lingo there. I'm a therapist. But what I do know is that during that age range, the parts of our brain that are being developed are the same parts of our brain that get activated when our nervous system goes out of whack. And when our nervous system goes out of whack, I mean, I'm agitated, I'm irritated, I'm upset, something's triggering me. So that's why it's important to look back to that age range.
Right.
That plus any traumas that we've been through, because those also activate that same part of the brain that kind of comes alive when we're dysregulated. So that's why that age range is important, because that really develops how we see the world, the lens we look at the world through.
Yeah.
Is those 3 to 6 year age range plus any trauma.
So how does the way our parents raised us impact the way we raise our children? If that's true, how is it true?
Oh man, I wish it weren't true for so many of us.
Just tell me it's not true, and then I'll
move on. We'll move on.
So my mom gave me a coffee mug last Christmas that says, "Sometimes I open my mouth and my mother falls out." So
that's beautiful.
It is beautiful. I was drinking out of it this morning. I'm like, I should bring this with me. But
oh gosh,
the thing is, I think most of us as parents, me included, we kind of look at the things that made us feel loved and protected and safe when we were young. And we want to kind of replicate those things in our own family. And then the things that made us feel unsafe or that kind of sat wrong with us, we don't want to do that as parents. But what happens is some of those things just come out when we're under stress, when we're dysregulated. Some of what was familiar to us in our family of origin then just kind of comes out during times of stress or during times when we don't know what to do. We just kind of lean on to what we know. So I think most of us are just kind of taking bits and pieces of the parenting, the people that we know and respect and love, whether that be our parents, our grandparents, our best friends, and we just kind of jam all those together, and we want that to be the way we parent. But sometimes when we're in stress, we can't pull from all of that. It just
Gotcha.
comes because we're just a small part of that larger system. So when you look at a genogram, you have, I don't know, 30, 40 names sometimes on that board, and you're just one, and you're part of that system, and that system goes with you wherever you go. It's not like you leave that family and you get married and now all of that's erased and it's gone. No, that comes with you. It's part of who you are. And so as a parent, it comes out.
But then the joy of marriage is that then you also married that other person's system. And now you have two systems competing against one another or, in concert with one another in how you now raise these children.
Exactly.
And this is why there are licensed professional therapists.
Yes.
Because, that's...
you have job security, Molly. I'm really thinking you have some serious job security.
Very true.
Because, yes, that system goes with me everywhere I go, and now Emily's system comes with her, and then we're looking at a kid going, you want to do this? Well, that's dumb. That's not how my parents did it. This is how we do it, and
Yes.
it makes for a really great time.
Molly, I tell you, I think we need to have you back.
Yeah, for sure.
We're about out of time today, and I feel like we've just done a little tiny scratch of the surface. So, would you come back and spend some time with us?
Of course.
Sometime soon?
Of
Awesome.
course.
Well, I just want to thank everyone who tuned in today, and we hope this episode was encouraging to you. I'm actually feeling like I need to go schedule a session with Molly at this point, but it was encouraging because I'm sure you're going to tell us that we can work through these things.
Yes,
absolutely. So, but I hope you all got some valuable insights that you feel like you can use. Tune in next week for stories from parents like you to hear their hard lessons learned and insights they wish they would know going through parenting as well.
All right, if you enjoyed this episode, we'd love for you to review. Let us know what you thought, and let other people know as well. That'll let other people know so that they can be listening to the podcast as well. Feel free to connect with us on Facebook and Instagram. We'd love to hear topics that you may be interested in or ways that you may want to know more about what we're talking about. So thanks again for listening. Molly, thanks again for being here, and you guys have a great week.